Enjo Kabonu is president of the National Association of Graduate Teachers. He called a press conference today, at which press conference he said the teachers who were removed should be reinstated. He's joined me on the line. Enjo, you're welcome to Eyewitness News. The statement that we saw suggested that is the headmistress of the WASS who has been interdicted. Is she the only one?
Well, our press conference today was to identify the challenges in the senior high schools that is precipitating the need for PAs or PTAs to come together to mobilize resources to help the school. And in so doing, some heads of institutions have found themselves in trouble. So we are saying that the problem is not with the heads of the institution, but rather the challenging situation we find in the school, resulting from lack of resources to satisfy certain needs of the school. That precipitates the reason for which monies are collected for the purpose that I have mentioned earlier.
All right. So I think you didn't get my question. My question was, is the WASS headmistress the only person who has been interdicted over issues relating to collection of money?
Yes.
Okay.
After this morning, yes.
Okay, but you are saying that she should be reinstated, even though the GES has insisted that no teacher or administrator or school official should collect money. This collection is wrong. So why are you saying she should be reinstated?
And that is where our usually it is the PTA that initiates the need to collect these monies. The need to collect these monies are as a result of the school letting the parents know that, look, we are challenged. And Omaro, let me tell you, as you and I speak, the mobilization of money and the contribution of same by parents is going on in several senior high schools. I wouldn't want to mention senior high schools, but I can assure you that government officials and ministers whose children are in some top schools in this country also contribute money for the same purpose. Monies are collected for several things, including sanitation in the school. Monies are collected for examination. Monies are collected for the purchase of sanitation materials for the washrooms, and so on and so forth. And there are some schools that parents contribute as high as 500 Ghana cedis in this same country that I'm talking about. It is not in one school, it is not in two schools, it's not in three schools. It's a widespread exercise that is currently going on.
But Angel, does it mean that there are challenges having to do with finance in all senior high schools, for which reason these monies are being collected? Can you walk us through some of the challenges that some of the head teachers have been encountering and the schools have been encountering generally?
Yes. You have a school that tells you that they don't have money to conduct and run examinations. So parents will have to contribute. Other than that, there will be no mock or super mock to prepare the students before the final exam. You have complaints to do with the washrooms are not being kept up to scratch because either before free SHS, the various houses were contributing monies to purchase brine, they were contributing money to purchase bleach, and so on and so forth to keep the washrooms clean. Today, because of free SHS, they are not able to do that. So if you don't want your child to come home with a contracted disease, then you have to contribute. So parents contribute. I can give you an example of a school in Accra here where the parents are mobilized to put up a washroom around the classroom block so that the students don't have to walk all the way to the dormitory size before the access washroom facilities, and several other reasons. And I'm surprised that the media is not aware of these money contribution that goes on in the schools. I'm surprised. And I'm also surprised that the security agencies have not been able to report back to government that this exercise is a widespread exercise in our senior high schools in this country. I'm rather surprised. In fact, on the top of my head, I can give you about 20 senior high schools where such collection of monies are going on.
And the government, is the government not supposed to provide money for these things that you talk about?
The report you get from the school is the money that government is bringing is not adequate. Two, the payment of the money is not timeous to satisfy the need at the time that the need is pressing. One, the amount of money is inadequate, and two, the amount of money is not coming on time. And you see, what is happening here is that there is competition between the provision of money for food, which you and I know is a very thorny issue, and it keeps recurring where sometimes students demonstrate because of shortage of food and so on and so forth. There is a competition between government keeping the pace in the provision of food as against the provision of other needed resources for the running of the school. And that is the challenge we are having. And I don't want all of us to play this. Let's confront this problem and bring the realities to the fore.
Have you raised, as teacher unions, these issues with the Ghana Education Service officials? What have been their response? Because it appears they are very strict with this issue of collection of money. I recall the early days when Salamat, then at the La Presec, was transferred for collecting money to buy furniture for school. Those were the early days of free SHS. And now we're hearing from this headmistress of WASS. Have you had discussions with government? What's government's position on these matters?
Yeah, on countless occasions, I've even been to your studio to discuss this issue of the need for us to reduce senior high school and look at the areas of implementation and so on and so forth. At several press conferences, we have identified the challenges, especially when we had the food crisis where students were complaining that the food that they eat in the schools was monotonous and there were shortages here and there and so on and so forth. I know a situation where some heads will put a bag of rice or gari in their car, going to another school to see if they can exchange it for some other food item that they have more than necessary and so on and so forth. Now we all know the problem that buffer stock is facing, where monies are not forthcoming from the Ministry of Finance or monies don't flow regularly from the Ministry of Finance. So suppliers are within the premises of buffer stock and so on and so forth. So what we are looking at here is that, yes, we have free senior high school, but the free senior high school is not smooth sailing. We need to see where the challenges are. And again, look, why will parents mobilize themselves during visiting and form a WhatsApp platform? And on that WhatsApp platform, they'll be soliciting for contributions so that they give a minimum below which a parent you cannot go. They'll be soliciting for contributions so that they mobilize money to help the school in providing this or that, because now the schools are not allowed to collect the money through the traditional means of collection. In some of the cases, the parents, yes, they say they are ready to contribute, but they are not ready to put the money in the mobile account of an individual parent because they fear that maybe at the end of the day they could be shortchanged. They want somebody in the school to be able to collect this money on their behalf. And at the end of the day, when these monies are collected, these monies are presented to the school. And the rule says that when you collect money by way of donation, either from parents, either from anybody, you will have to collect that money through school account and issue receipt to the money that you collected. So who are fooling as a nation? Who are we deceiving? Are we not aware that when you go to senior high schools in this country, parents have mobilized and they are soliciting for funds among themselves to give money to the school to provide A, B, C, D, or E? That is a common practice now. And I know a school where some contributed about 500 Ghana cedis Some also contribute about 1,000 cedis. But there is a minimum contribution that you cannot go beyond.
Which means that the PTA can be used, but the teachers themselves cannot make the demands. What's the way out of it then? How do you think schools can maneuver out of this?
Omar, the demand indirectly comes from the school. Because the parent will not know the challenges of the school unless the school tells them that, well, we cannot provide this because we don't have money. We can't provide this, we don't have money. The government says we shouldn't collect the money through the traditional system of PTA paying dues, where you go and pay in the accounts office PTA dues. Therefore, they have also introduced a way of collecting the monies among themselves. Then on that platform, they are able to get the telephone number of every parent in the school, because that telephone number will be with the school authorities anyway. And you will get messages and text messages indicating that only 25 people have paid so far, only 100 people have paid so far. We are following a good course for the upkeep of our children. If we are not careful, our children will not get proper preparation towards the exam and so on and so forth. This is what it is. And the need is real. The need is real. That is why the mobilization has come into the system as we speak.
This particular instance of WASS, did she say to you, or does NAGRAT know what transpired, and why are you saying she should be reinstated?
Oh, well, the WASS situation is that, yes, truly monies were collected. That is a fact. But then the school authorities are saying that the monies were collected through initiative of the parents. And the monies were collected because government funding to the school to be able to write exam was not forthcoming. Or even when the money came, the money was inadequate. So they were collecting that money for the purpose of presenting it back to the school to achieve this. And to them, that's how examinations were able to be written.
And so they did not see anything wrong with what they did, and you also don't think that there's anything wrong, even though they may not have written
our position is that a vacuum exists in our schools due to inadequate financial resources, due to inadequate financial provision by government. The government promises that it's going to give us free senior high school. Yes, the free senior high school is there, but what is now the administrative challenges of the free senior high school? It is because that government money is inadequately flowing into the schools. So because of this, PTA executives come, headmasters say, look, these are two we used to write 2 mock exams to prepare the students. Now we can barely write 1. PTA says, no, we will need the 2 mocks to prepare our students. Therefore, let us get the phone numbers of parents, mobilize through WhatsApp. Other than that, when people are passing, our children will be failing. That is just what it is. That is just what it is. The situation, look, I know a school parents on a visiting Sunday were all mobilized to visit the washroom of the students. And the washroom of the students was terrible. So terrible that some of the parents got very, fell into a sort of nausea and all that. So when they met, they felt that, look, if we continue like this, our children will come home with communicable diseases. Therefore, let's mobilize and put the washroom in shape. That is just only one example of the numerous reasons why we find ourselves in the current state of affairs.
But you cannot dare do that.
No. Of course, the parents are partners in the school.
But I'm saying that as a school administration, you cannot lead the way.
No, you cannot lead the way. You cannot mobilize. You cannot collect the money. But the question is there a real situation that necessitated the mobilization and the collection of the money? There are several ways of doing that. I know a PTA during opening in a school in Eastern region where the PTA chairman and his officials were waiting for students to come to school with their troubles and boxes, and they were collecting money from the parents among themselves so that they can support the school in the feeding regime.
Thank you for speaking to us. Let's leave it here for now. Thank you, Angel.